Scene one, take one, common mark.
Sarah Lou X wants to know how to make friends. Well, figure out what your hobbies are. Do you like to dance, sing karaoke, cook, connect? Go do those things, and then you'll find like-minded people. If you like to hike, make sure you have openness of your heart so that people can resonate and see you for who you really are, and then be courageous one moment at a time. Maybe find a compliment, something you like about that person, and tell them. That'll create rapport. You know, ask them questions and see if it feels good. If it feels good being around a person, that's generally a good sign that they might be a future friend. And take the pressure off, you know? Not everybody's open to making friends, especially later in life, but then there's a billion people who are and want a new friend. A stranger is just someone you haven't slept with yet. I mean, a stranger is just a friend you haven't made yet. I wanted it to be serious, but already I'm like, how do you make friends? You go to people's houses and you wait outside. And you look in their window, and then you find things that they have, like movie posters, and then you pretend to run into them at the supermarket, aisle 4 at Whole Foods. You reach for the same bag of chips that you saw on their counter, okay, the kettle chips, and you go, oh my gosh, sorry, those are my favorite. And then you ask them about Monty Python because you saw that poster on their wall, and then boom, you have a friend from an inauthentic experience. You have to lie your way through the friendship. Okay. Would you allow your mom into your baby's life as a grandma if she was a toxic mother to you? I don't know. Has she changed? Was she the same as she was 30 years ago? And what is toxic? I don't know. Maybe she's changed. Maybe there's some boundaries to set. Maybe you need to communicate your ideal grandmotherhood to her and see if that's something that she can agree upon, and then you have good boundaries. Our mothers are always going to be a little bit harder on us than they are on their grandkids. And so I would get a sense of what your mother's like around your child and see if it's a match. And if there's anything that you would do differently, communicate that to her. Give her the opportunity to behave differently and communicate it in a way that resonates with her so that you can actually be on the same page. Because the truth is, I think at the bottom of it, we all want to make everything okay. We all want to spend time with family. And then we have these conditions that make it hard and block us from one another. So why not have the ideal picture of what you would like your mother to behave like around your child, and then communicate that to her and see if she's able to do it. Love and tolerance. Are you nervous about giving birth? No, I'm gonna just squat it out and it'll plop out at the front door. Yeah, of course I'm nervous. I'm not, okay. I feel like it'll be an easy birth. At least that's what I'm picturing. I've always pictured having it at the front door, just like sliding out. I walked up to a woman the other day and she was like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be like a spiritual experience, but it is gonna be really tough and it's gonna be many, many hours and you're gonna be in a lot of pain. And I went, ah, because she was just projecting her fear onto me, and if I'm not careful, I will take that in and maybe make that my experience. So we got to be really careful and discerning of how we talk to each other, because we are programming each other in every moment. Anytime we say the word you, that person who's listening is going, oh, me, unconsciously. Let's just program each other with really nice, loving things and say, you're going to have a great time, it's going to go great, rather than you're going to really struggle and it's going to be painful and the rest of your life is never going to be the same. So good luck to you. It's like, that felt like an attack. That woman attacked me. Trying to wrap my head around dating after being in an 8-year relationship. I don't know what that means. I get what you're saying. You're wrapping your head. How do I date again after being in an 8-year relationship? Well, I think one thing at a time. You know, it's like going to the gym. Don't worry about going to the gym for the whole year. Just put your shoes on, you know, one step at a time. If I went into dating thinking about, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to get married, I'm already in the future and I'm future tripping and I'm not actually present in the moment gathering the information that I need. So how about we just go out for a 20-minute coffee and we create the container that that's all it's gonna be, and then take off the pressure of, will there be a second date? How about you create your ideal, ask the questions that you're curious about, and then give it a week. A lot of people think that they need to sleep together right away and that they need to figure out what they are so far sooner than they need to. The truth is you can go on 10 dates and have a rule, no sex for 10 dates, because what sex does is it can complicate. Russell! Sex can complicate things, and intimacy can confuse the body and the cells and the Russell! Anyway, sex can complicate things. And people, we get it so excited and we want to feel good and we want that instant gratification. And there's such a larger payoff of waiting a little bit longer, maybe going on 5 dates before you do that, so that you can actually see, do I really like this person? Do we have things in common? Are we going to the same place? Because a lot of people, myself included, I've done this many times, will engage in intimacy a little bit too soon. And then I already feel like I have the illusion of really liking or loving the person without knowing them. And then 6 months down the line, I want to break up with them. I think we as humans want to feel good, and we want to feel good now. There's a lot of instant gratification, especially with social media, Instagram of a hit of that dopamine. And if we can delay that gratification, there's so much information there. If we just pause when we're excited or fearful or doubtful, we don't have to make decisions so quickly. We can pause. And for me, God is in the silence, and there's so much information in that pause. And then when I'm ready and I'm not so emotionally charged, I can make that decision. And we don't need to rush ourselves to make a decision. We're also allowed to change our mind. What a concept. We can make a decision one day, and the next day, with more clarity, if we decide that doesn't work for me anymore, I'd like to change the dynamic of our relationship. What once worked for me here is now no longer working for me here, and communicating that effectively to your partner, you're allowed to change your mind and create new dynamics and new possibilities always, at any time. I think we, as humans, think that we need to have the answers at all times for everybody, and that's just too much pressure. And when all we really need to do is relax, get quiet, listen, and the answers will come, and not in the ways you always think. And we're allowed to ask too. We're allowed to ask the universe, hey, can you show me a sign? Or can you make it very clear on what it is you'd like me to do? And then really be open to what, the universe reveals to you. I remember being in a relationship, in a marriage, and I was on like 2% left of that marriage. We had already gone to therapy. We had already done everything under the sun to try to change the dynamic of the relationship. And I just was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to stay or go, and I need help. God, please help me. And I had lunch, I think later that day, with a friend who gave me the clarity that I needed on the partner that I married. And it was just like, the answer was so clear that like it was time to step away and release the connection I had with this person. I remember being really grateful that, ask and you shall receive, that I got the answers I needed to move on. I also think it's really important I think when you're uncoupling from a relationship, to make sure that it's your decision and not what other people want and not what your partner wants, but like what's right for you, and kind of getting all the clarity and information that you need in order to walk away. Because had I walked away too prematurely, I always would have looked back and wondered, well, what if we went to therapy? Or what if I really would have been more patient? Or maybe he could have changed if X, Y, or Z, or maybe I could have changed if this, and this. And I remember having everybody's opinions on what I should be doing. But what I did for myself was I needed to go to therapy. I needed to stick it out. I needed to stay in it for as long as I needed to stay in it and get as much information until the very end. And once I had that information, I was able to walk away and never look back. I think when people are in relationships and they're looking back, it's because something was left unturned, or maybe they left too prematurely, or maybe they didn't get all the information they needed to feel so secure with that decision to walk away. Because walking away is not easy. It's really hard. It's uncomfortable. You're walking away from something familiar. Humans love what's familiar. They love what's the same. They love the routine. They want to know that they can feel comfort. It's a comfort thing, and it's a control thing for the unconscious mind. And to walk away is to do something different. Trying to get a human to do something different than they're used to is very challenging. If I'm somebody that never went to the gym for a year and now I'm trying to go to the gym and have these resolutions, it's going to feel like I'm lifting 1,000-pound weight because it's new to my system, my body, my unconscious mind, my muscle memory. But if I just say, let me just go to the gym for 20 minutes for just one day and just look around, I can do that. And already I've taken a 1-degree shift and I've made a step forward. And then maybe the next day I go, okay, let me go and actually get on a machine for 21 minutes. It's like slow things that are uncomfortable that eventually we start to get comfortable with. If you are scared to leave somebody that is familiar to you, but they are not for your highest good, I would suggest just at least getting some space from them, just to start getting familiar with yourself again, if anything. There's Nothing wrong with taking space and getting quiet and seeing how you feel on your own. What do I do if I always feel underqualified while job hunting? First of all, just know that you're not alone. A lot of people feel that way. It's very common. It's unfamiliar territory. I would say just do it anyway. Like Will Smith said, if you're scared, just do it scared. Just welcome the feelings. Say, oh, this feels inauthentic. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to take the action and act as if I know what I'm doing to tell my body that I actually can do it, because once we do apply for the job, the results are not up to us. We are not in the results business, right, Russell?
Russell? What you thinking about, Russ? What are you thinking?
A moment of Russell resting on my hand.
Oh.
I love you.
34, male, still single. What is your advice on changing that? I think you need to get outside your comfort zone, maybe go to a coffee shop, find an energy that you like, or get on the dating apps. I don't know, people really like that, and just start going on dates. Practice just being on dates. Practice being in front of another person, relaxing in your body, having a set of questions that you find interesting that you want to ask to somebody, and get practicing with that. I remember when I was really afraid of dating and finding that I put a lot of pressure on myself to find the right person and to make sure that it was going to be into a relationship. Just do one thing at a time. If dating apps are overwhelming, go to a bookstore, go to a coffee shop, and just kind of sit and bring your book and see if anybody's energy seems open to talk to. Just be willing, be willing to meet somebody. And I always suggest people get on the apps because the apps are intended to meet people, so you're already signing up to tell the universe that you are interested in meeting somebody. Same thing could be said about how apps have destroyed dating, because they're constantly, you're just like flashing through flashcards, and it's like they're not actually humans. And so, just be aware of that downfall, that dating apps can really nourish the part of our brain that is ADHD-like and never settled for one and always looking for the next best thing, because that's never going to work. That is just, social media and dating apps are feeding the part of us that thinks there's something better, and then it takes us away from what we actually have. If you don't like what you got, you won't like what you get. So we start to appreciate what we do have and start to want what we do have, and then we can find the gratitude for that and actually be present with our experience of what is. Talking about grief, I haven't experienced a ton of it in my life, but what I've witnessed is that I think just feeling the feelings as much as they come up, especially in the beginning, is most important. Surrounding yourself with other people that have gone through what you've gone through, so that you can have that relation with them, knowing that it will pass, but also not trying to avoid your feelings. I think that when we resist what's coming up for us, it persists and it causes a lot more pain than necessary. And so welcome the pain. Feel it, write about it, express it when it comes up, put on that song, like give it the space that it deserves to feel the feelings so that they're not stuck in your body. And no, it's not permanent. There will be a day that you feel really good. There will be days that you'll be able to make jokes about it. All of it's okay. Don't make yourself wrong for feeling what you feel. And then it's not linear. It's not a linear experience. It's not like, okay, I gave it 5 months of grief and then it should be over. There might be moments down the line where something comes up and you have a big feeling. Feel that thing and then let it pass through. Support groups are really, really helpful. Make sure during it you're still eating and trying to sleep and getting ample movement in your body so that you're not getting stuck in the feeling. Because while feelings are good, it's also good to kind of take breaks and make sure that you're still nourishing your nervous system. How did you know you were ready to have kids? What? How did you know you were ready to have kids? I don't know. I'm not ready. Are we ever ready? I don't know. I'm just following my gut, I guess. I'm not waiting for a moment of realization of I think I'm now ready. I'm just going to jump in the water and hopefully acclimate to the temperature. And go easy on myself and know that this is something I haven't done before and I'm going to learn how to do it one day at a time. I'm not trying to be a mother to a teenager right now. I'm just trying to be pregnant. I'm not getting ahead of myself thinking, oh, how will I know how to take care of a 5-year-old? That will absolutely cause me anxiety if I'm too much in the future. I think any human that is living in the future will experience anxiety, and any human that is reliving the past will start to feel a sense of depression or sadness because the past is over. But when we're in the present moment, one day at a time, everything's okay right here, right now. You don't need to be anywhere else. And so sometimes getting aware of our 5 senses. What do I see right now? What do I hear? What do I taste? What do I touch? How do I keep breathing? To just be present. And in the present, yeah, everything's okay. You're here, aren't you? It's the pictures that we make in our mind that cause us to feel what we feel. So if we're picturing the past, oh, should have done it like this. I should have done it like that. I wish it went this way. Well, what's really cool is actually you can go back and you can change that picture in your mind. Let's say something happened and it was really traumatic. You can actually, through hypnosis or just breathing or meditation or relaxing right before bed, go back to that part of that moment that happened and rewind it right back to before it happened and play the picture differently, the way that you wish it would have went, and make sure that it's in a big bright color and see how that affects your body and your nervous system. And you may never have to suffer from that story again. I don't know. I always like to relive moments in the day. Like if something happened in the day that I didn't like, I like to go back if I can control it. Like even if somebody said something unkind to me, I like to go back and replay it and imagine them saying the opposite, saying something kind to me that makes me feel good. Why? Because I get to do that, because it's my mind that I have to live with for the rest of my life. There are no rules. We get to play. Some may call it crazy. I call it a Friday night. How does it feel having massive breasts? Hell or heaven, LOL, FYI, pregnancy rocks on you. Well, just a queen basket case. Gotta say, it's been fun. I've gotten used to them to the point where like I'll wake up in the morning and be like, I think they got smaller. They look normal to me. I feel like this is what they've always looked like. But in the beginning, they felt so huge and I felt more feminine. I feel like pregnancy is what we women, like I feel like I'm at my best. I'm like, oh, this is what my body has been meant to do. I feel stronger, more aligned, more centered. I walk around topless in the home more than ever. I didn't ever do that before. And now because of the heat and the temperature of the hormones, I just am like always shirtless, and that's really fun. So it feels really good. Thank you for asking. I'm sad for the day that it may go away, but I'm just going to manifest that they stay jugly. Boyfriend breaks up with girlfriend, says she's perfect, but he doesn't know who he is. What's this mean? So you're saying that the boyfriend broke up with you and says you're perfect, but doesn't know who he is? I don't know what that means. I'd ask more questions. I would ask, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? Do you mean I'm perfect as I am? Are you trying to sugarcoat something? I'm making this mean that you don't know how to really tell me what the problem is? Is there anything that you're mad at? I think resentment can really be in the way of people feeling connected. I know it can for me. If I'm mad at you and I'm not communicating to you why I'm upset, you're going to start to occur to me as less attractive, someone I don't really want to be around. But if I share, that's why when couples go to therapy, they tend to like start loving each other a little bit more, because they're clearing away the wreckage and the resentment that is blocking them from seeing the love that they had originally seen in the first place. When we first meet someone, it's like a blank canvas and there's no preconceived anything, and it's just like starry-eyed, and it's just really the most intoxicating feeling in the world. And then as time goes on, there's little chinks in the armor, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm mad at them for that. I didn't like that they said that, but I don't need to say it because I don't want to mess with this feeling and I don't want to cause conflict. I didn't love conflict growing up, so let me just avoid it, or let me just stuff my feelings down and not express myself. And then all of a sudden that little thing has turned into all these big things, and then the person is just not attractive to you anymore, and you want to be away from them, and you're mad at them when they touch you. And it's like, if I would have just expressed all those little things along the way, you would still be occurring to me as the most beautiful man in the world, or the most beautiful person in the world. And that's freedom. Risk willing to have confrontation, have them have an emotional response, to stand for your own truth, because that's where the freedom lies. If you're upset about something, even if it's small, you can preface it with, you know, this is so scary for me to bring up. I feel silly bringing this up, but I just have to say, when you said this, I took it to mean this, right? We want to take responsibility for our own feelings. No one can make us feel any which way. The feelings that we feel exist within us, so it's best to take responsibility for how we feel. And I often like to use the terminology of, when you said this, I created a story this. When you said, you know, get out of the way, I took that to mean that you don't care about my safety. Whatever the thing is, I don't know. Or when you said, you're wearing that, I took that to mean that you thought I was ugly. And it hurt my feelings and I never said anything. And when I don't say anything, we're as sick as our secrets. So even if there's something small, it's going to manifest into something bigger later. So you might as well clean up as you go so that you don't have a big pile of shit to clean up later. And that courage will really go a long way, because it is courageous. Courage is, you know, sharing your heart, and it's courageous and scary, and it takes a lot of bravery to move past and share your heart with somebody and to share your complaints. Because if you're anything like me, I used to think that if I did that, then I was risking the relationship and risking conflict, and it was gonna create all this upset, and then we'd break up. And so to tell you the truth would mean to lose you, which is something I created in my mind. That's not the truth, but that's what I created. And so I use that as an excuse to just withhold. Not the way to do it. The way to do it is to share as honestly and as vulnerable as possible, so that we can have a free, happy, joyous relationship where we communicate the truth with each other. I always really appreciate when people tell the truth. We are not mind readers. And so if you have an issue with me, I would prefer you tell me, so that I have the opportunity to go, yeah, let me adjust. I'm willing to be flexible so that we can have a really more harmonious relationship. I never want to make you feel that way. I don't intend to make you feel that way. So maybe there's something that I'm doing that I can change to make you feel like you're having a better time in front of me. I think that communication is really kind of the biggest issue that we're all kind of going through in all of our relationships, whether romantic or friendship or work relationships, is people aren't communicating, you know, how they really feel, because it's scary, it's vulnerable. How did you get past your trust issues after your divorce? Well, my trust issues arose within that divorce, so it wouldn't make sense for me to carry them into the next relationship with another human being who didn't install those trust issues. So I've had to make a conscious effort to leave those issues in the past with that guy and not carry them. That being said, I'm not perfect, and I absolutely had some issues. Sometimes when my new partner would be on his phone, I'd go, oh my God, what if he's, messaging a girl and blah, 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 blah. And I just outed it. I just told it. I said, I'm afraid that you're messaging women, and this is from my past relationship, blah, 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 blah. And I was lucky enough to have a man that goes, hey, if you ever want to check my phone, have at it. I'm not a cheater. I've never been a cheater. His nervous system and the way that he answered that and took care of my insecurity in that moment settled me so much so that there was really nothing not to trust. I think my body and molecules trust him innately because he's trustworthy. Sometimes our gut knows something. I think trying to avoid feeling trust issues isn't the answer. I think lean into it. Just own it. When I was in a new relationship, after having been in an old relationship where there was many trust issues, I had to just keep putting voice to what was coming up for me and taking responsibility, not making the new partner wrong in any which way, but simply saying, oh my gosh, I'm feeling jealousy in my body. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid that this is something that I'm creating in my mind. Because we have to take responsibility for our side of the street and for what we're creating in our mind. They may be doing nothing wrong, and we may be creating this illusion, but because they're on their phone and they're turning it this way, that they're messaging someone. And so why don't I out my insecurity and say, I'm afraid that you're messaging somebody, and then wait for their response. And their response will give you a lot of information. If they respond, well, I'm not, you're crazy. Okay, there's some information there. But if he goes, oh my God, check my phone anytime. Do you want to look at it? Here you go. I would never do that. You never have to worry about that. Ever, ever, ever. I got you. That'll settle you. And eventually, like within a few months, I didn't have trust issues anymore. And really soon after, I really did stop having any trust issues because there was nothing to distrust. I think we need to ask more questions and out our feelings a lot more to get the clarity that we need to take care of ourselves. I don't think we're taking good enough care of ourselves as people on the planet. And we deserve to. We deserve clarity. We can always ask for clarity. Hey, I don't know enough information about this. Could you fill in the gaps? Because if you don't, I will, and I'll fill it in with things that are inaccurate, most likely. I like to do that a lot. Expecting my first baby and anxious about birth and how it will affect my relationship. I get that. That makes so much sense. There's probably stuff to put in place prior to having the baby. Perhaps already making appointments for therapy with your partner so that you have somewhere to land to express yourself. Perhaps creating just kind of a game plan of who's going to do what when the baby comes. It probably will all go to shit and it won't be anything that you expect, but also lowering the expectations that things have to be perfect, right? Our serenity is in direct proportion to our expectation. So when we have really high expectation that everything needs to be perfect, it's usually not going to meet that, and then we feel disappointed. But if we have low expectations and expect nothing, then everything is just a gift. So I'm fully expecting when I have this baby that it's going to be a crazy time, that we're not going to sleep, but I'm going to intend to do my best, and then it'll just be what it'll be. Let's not judge ourselves throughout the process. Know that this is something new that we've never done before. We need a lot more grace for ourselves and for our partners, and know that everybody's just doing the best that they can with what they've got, with the knowledge that they've got. Easy does it. I also think that you and I are not alone in feeling this, and I think every person who's ever had a baby has worried about this as well. So I think that we're having a normal human response to doing something that we haven't done before, right? Thoughts on signing a prenup before getting married? I'd say if he's rich, don't sign it. If he has no money, then make him sign it. To each his own. I had my guy sign it years ago, and I'm so happy I did, because he was a lying, cheating con artist. And he didn't get any of my money, which is great. Thank you, Dad. My dad thought, this is moving very fast. It would comfort me if he signed a prenup, and he did. Thank you, X, for doing that, letting me keep my money. After I just bought us a house and we had the wedding of our dreams, and a month later you were sexting other women. Lately, I've been thinking about being a victim and how it's just not effective for me. It's just not empowering. I think if a person has something done to them and was victimized, I think there's no power in living in that scenario over and over again. I think the power comes from looking at your part in the situation, and the situation can be something horrific that happened when you were 7 years old. Who knows what it was? But if you're not 7 anymore and that thing isn't happening anymore, and you're 40 years old, your part could simply be that you're replaying it in your mind over and over again and using it as an excuse from moving forward. And so once we take responsibility for ourselves, even if it's something like that, to that extreme, right? You're clearly justified, you're clearly the victim. That being said, there's no power in replaying it over and over in your mind. There's no power in, if I don't take responsibility for my part in it, I can't move forward, and then I can't regain my power. And I think we as humans are meant to be very powerful and really effective and lead change and be examples in the world. And we can't do that if we're in the victim. Even when I think of being a victim, I think of like being small and caged up and there's just nowhere for me to go. And so much of it is in the mind. Right? It's in our own mind, if it's of our own making. And I think about this often with, let's say, my relationship that went sour a few years ago. If I were the victim in that circumstance, which I could say that I was, that could still be haunting me today from moving forward. And I wouldn't be in a beautiful, almost 4-year relationship with a baby on the way. Had I been replaying that in my mind and being like, see, men suck. They're all terrible. I'm going to generalize men because of one man's pain and one experience that I had. How am I ever able to move forward with an open heart? I want love. I deserve love. I'm going to let that be over there and look at my part in it. Okay, what was my part? Well, there were some red flags that I painted green. There were times where I wasn't listening to my body when certain things were said. I just kind of overwrote it because I wanted to stay in the story of it. I participated. I fully participated. I chose this, actually. For whatever reason, my soul chose this experience, probably because I needed to learn these lessons the hard way, publicly, so that I can move on and have the life that I have now. And had I not done that, I wouldn't have the life I had now. I wouldn't have learned all the lessons that I really needed to learn. I really needed to learn how to trust my gut, how to trust my intuition, how to listen to my body. I didn't have those tools before. I was listening to words that people said over my own sovereignty, over my own body. Like, that's insane. And now I get to listen to my gut and align with what I know deep down is best for me.